So what I'd like us to do is go around and mention how long we've been playing. If you were Q and could snap your fingers to change one thing, or if you could snap your fingers to add one thing, what would it be? And I'll even end with something for myself. So we'll start off.
I'm Paulson, played for since beta. And the thing I would change would be more more STFs.
Okay. So change more STFs, and well, I guess that's what you would add.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would change right now?
Not really.
No. Well, to answer your STF question, and I'll give a little back if I can. So the next season is going to be focused on all endgame stuff. So expect to see more STF stuff like that. More events, things geared towards endgame players. So Legacy of Romulus was all... I don't know exactly. I don't think Foundry... I think Foundry covers all aspects of games. And I think we'd love to see better integration of Foundry, because if you've played Neverwinter, you've got the Harper agents, you know, wouldn't that be awesome? You fly by a system and you get a little report from your first officer that says, hey, we're passing by this system and there's these things, you know, and it gives you Foundry missions. And I'm not sure, that's not to say that's what's actually coming right now, but that'd be awesome.
We know it's endgame, that's the next bit. We're just wondering whether that included.
Foundry is, just because the next season is going to be about endgame doesn't mean it's not going to have Foundry stuff. I don't know exactly what's going to come in for Foundry. Things are still, you know, being planned out. It's going to release, the plan is to release it before the end of the year, but things are being still finalized of what it's going to include, but it will be endgame. Whereas Legacy of Romulus was about bringing in new players, and now that we've brought in new players, it's adding more to the endgame portion. So we'll talk more about it as time goes along, but yes, I would expect to see more STF-like things, especially a new enemy group. You know, Season 6 brought in the Folians, right? Yeah, Season 6. Season 7 was New Romulus and continuation of the Folians and Romulan Star Empire. And the next season will bring in a new enemy group. So.
Do you know if that's going to be Season 8 or is
yeah,
I think we've gone.
I think we've gone back. It could change, but I think we've gone back and actually said the next season will be 8, not 9, because we want the season to be able to stay separate from expansions, so that expansions can be classified as expansions and not have. Because if we would have gone to Season 9, it basically means Season 8 was part of the expansion. But I think we're going to be going with Season 8. So things could flip flop at the last second, but that's right now. So that's to go on what you said.
Okay.
So how long have you been playing? And
Tim Barton, you as well as some of you may know me. How long have I been playing? Too long, really, since late beta, late 2009. What would I add in? Probably a progressing timeline. We've been on 2409 for a while now. We rewound with New Romulus because the intro movie is explicitly 2 weeks prior to the Federation intro. And it would be nice to see things rolling on because, hey, the Romulan Republic is now in the party. The balance of power is going all over the place. The Borg aren't quite the threat they were, perhaps. Or maybe we're just kidding ourselves and being lulled into false security. And we've got the Iconians, we've got the Alarchi, etc., etc., etc. Where are we going to go from here? Are we going to be stuck in this permanent N+3 months vortex and limit the way we can expand the game's plot in that regard?
so that's something you would change.
Yeah.
And then add.
Something I would add. More Alarchi missions. They were a really fun enemy to fight, with the exception of that third wave. But they just disappear halfway through the Romulan arc and they don't come back. I mean, they may reappear as a random enemy group, I'm not sure, but I haven't run into them since then, unless anyone else has.
Just starting that arc.
Yeah, I mean, we'd nice to see more of them. Of course, Foundry missions kind of a wild card on this one anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to go back to the first changing about the storyline, the ultimate, we definitely have a plan for what the full story is.
Yeah.
What's the backstory and everything, how the Iconians play into place, and advancing the story. Now that the Federation, Klingon, and Romulan Republic are all at the same level with ending of, so yes, now that they're all at the story, where can we take the story from here? We definitely have an overarching story. When exactly that is going to happen, I'm not 100% sure, but the goal is to move forward. And Legacy of Romulus is about story and bringing it up. So you can expect to see the story moving forward, but where exactly, like what month is it in? You know, in 2409. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter in a way because it's not so much. Yes, it's 2409. You can either go with what MechWarrior Online is doing and saying, right, one day in game, one day real life, and we'll advance the calendar that way, which leaves them with a problem because they're going to hit a couple of big events, and if they've not got the code ready or the content ready, they're kind of hosed. Or you can go with what Games Workshop does, say, you know, we're just going to run the calendar up to 999M41, and then we're going to stop it. And we're going to get lots and lots and lots of increasingly big and apocalyptic wars packed into a very small space of time.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to do anything like that because it's been. We could, never say never. That's what I always say because it's true. But I think like it's been 2409 since 2010.
Yeah, this is my
so we
point.
would clearly make a shift in the storyline. But then again, players who are playing through their missions are still starting in 2409 if they just start.
Yeah, you can go. It's the way World of Warcraft has done it. I think.
Wow. You're quoting WoW.
Yeah, I'm quoting WoW because, like it or not, the single biggest Western MMO must have done something right. And the way they do it is that they advance the timeline by zone. So when you're in Westfall, it's X, Y, and Z. When you're in Ice Crown, you're fighting the Lich King. When you're in Cataclysm, it's post Deathwing, and Pandaria is post that. So as you change geographically,
But
you
they don't
change
use years.
zone. You don't use a year.
So if we never set, I mean, with Star Trek, you know, we had to use a year to explain where it is.
Yeah.
But if we never had to use a year, it'd probably be something similar. The story is advancing as it goes forward. So, but the next thing, has everyone hit Tier 5 New Romulus rep? I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
No? Okay.
New Romulus rep.
Yeah. Played the last mission.
Oh yeah.
I won't spoil
You
it.
mean Lucada?
No.
New Romulus. Because every tier that you finish of New Romulus rep, you open a new story mission, and at the last one you find out what happens, why you find out something with New Romulus, and that's where we're going to take the story from here.
So, do you mean like if you're a Romulan character and then the reps are just the Romulan tiers, or
It's the rep.
just the reputation system? Right?
Where you put in Romulan marks and you hit tier 5 and pick and you get that active space power. Or is that no space power?
I know a few people who tier 5, but I'm not like.
You get a special mission, and that's kind of where the story leads up to. So if you know what happens, the story is going to take off from there. Is what is going on with that thing. I don't want to spoil it, but because you can find out if you play through it. But there's something that you find on New Romulus, and so how that plays an effect on the story is where it's going to take us. So story is a big point of the game, and something we want to focus on.
Yeah.
Gosh, though, when will you be able to fix the vessel torpedo in STF?
You get a special mission.
When will you be able to fix the STF torpedo? You know, from the board, the vessel torpedo just kills everyone. Anyway, you can't see it.
Oh, the ball plasma of doom.
Yeah.
See, I know those people. I mean, I'm tier 5.
I didn't hear quite well. What did he say?
The invisible plasma of doom.
Yeah.
Invisible plasma?
Vessel torpedo, yeah.
The invisible
STF.
torpedo that just blows you away and the ball gets TFs.
I think you can get a.
You mean in space STS?
Pure space, yeah.
Stuff like that. So.
Well, I know that it should have been tuned down a little bit. No?
I mean, if you take out the cube, it's on the right side, you've got middle, right, middle, left, right? But you take out the right cube, and you've got the raptor coming out, and all of a sudden you just get blown up, just like where you go, you're like, oh, what the happened there?
When was the last time you were in it?
A couple of days ago. Yeah.
Or maybe something happened with Legacy of Romnus that came out, but they made a change to the visual effects so that they couldn't be invisible anymore. So we'll have to investigate that. But you should not be getting. The only thing that I think, and maybe I'm mistaken, but the only thing I knew of that could one-shot you is the in a Hive Onslaught Elite. Those two things, because you're supposed to stay in a certain area and you can't get hit by that.
Which STF you talking about? Which one?
Cure.
Cool. Infected, you get one. Infected? Yeah, infected, you get one shotted by that cube constantly.
Yeah.
The one shot.
I had the Jemadar ship, full shields, full hull, everything maxed out, and it just got instant popped.
Because what you do, you just get blown up.
Because I regularly, when they go off after they've killed everything, when they go and take the gate, I usually go and solo the attack cube on my own. And it just constant one-shots you all the time.
If you get hit by the plasma...
No, nothing's hitting you. Because I'm literally like touching it and trying to fly into it, like because I'm trying to max out and everything, and then it just instantly go bang every so often.
Well, surely that's the.
I've never seen
that'll be like big plasma. Just suddenly,
there's nothing there. There's nothing. That means
because you're so close to it.
So close, it will just explode because it won't go anywhere. It won't go anywhere.
No, you can see it because it comes to the range.
Not if you're right next there.
Yeah.
What comes up on the damage indicator?
I didn't look, to be honest.
Right. Because that's probably what it is. I've done that before, and that's the only thing that can one-shot you from that thing.
But here's the thing: there's a visual where the plasma comes from, but if you're 0 kilometers away from it, you won't see it, even if it's supposed to come down, because it's 0 kilometers.
It fades in as well, so it takes a moment for it to appear before it will come in.
That time you're blowing up, bang.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, over there. What about the like this is what annoys me. I think I don't agree with you here.
It's your turn to how long you've been playing those two things and bring it up.
We've been playing since what? Launch. Been subscribed for about 900.
Free to play launch or the break first?
Beta. I played it beta and then subscribed from day one, and also subscribed for 900 days monthly.
Okay.
My favourite ship just now is Defiant. I didn't get the Fleet Defiant just now because you don't get the shield bonus on the normal Defiant you do. So I like the normal Defiant instead of the Fleet Defiant. I know you get more tactical slots, but I like the old Defiant better.
So something you would change and something you would add.
I'd like to have the ability to change when you attack an enemy. I want to have the ability to disable them instead of attack them, because that's what your finishing does anyway. So you don't go out to kill people. So
that's something that came up at the Amsterdam meetup. Someone said that. So I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, you get more reward or wit drops better if you disable them.
I don't know exactly. I mean, there's some enemies are made like the freighters, like you don't destroy them, you disable them.
Yeah, you've got no choice, they just disable.
So something maybe like that. It's an interesting idea.
And just one more question about the STF. Like, I don't agree with me. The emergency power to engines feed, that's ridiculous. The spheres make the top.
Spheres and stuff?
Yeah.
That's not working right.
Right, okay.
They're not supposed to be able to. They're not supposed to zoom across to the other side.
I get outrun in the Jemadar ship evasives, and I still get out by those things.
Is that when they're returning to their original location?
No, they're opening route. They've got emergency power to engines, great. And they're just Jemadar. I run power level 80 or 90 for Jemadar, like standard. And like I'll attack evasives and they'll outrun you easily. Like I'll be there now, and they'll zoom past you.
But you see them. They didn't before Legacy Romnus when they hit emergency power to engines.
It was slow as fuck.
They would still be fast, but they don't zoom across the other side of the map.
Yeah.
So now it does.
Yeah. I'll go on because tactics. What they do, they want to get gate, so you can follow them, and they'll have a mass sphere behind you trying to crowd you in and behind the gate and uninfected. That's what they do mostly, because you don't always go after you. They go out around the gate so you can follow them, and then you get killed. It's just annoying.
Yeah. I'm thinking that they've got the AI from the running NPCs, the ground NPCs from the IAT, because they walk away from you when you first engage them. Because it sounds like the AI somehow it's gone on to because the spears tend to run away from you when you engage them, which the only NPCs in the
basically what you're saying is that Skynet's been born in STO. That's basically what you're saying.
Getting taxes all over the place here off everyone on PvP, because none of you do PvP, do you?
I do, regularly. I torture escorts.
Say again? Stonewall. I'm thinking about going against Joe guys actually, because I'm in the tech, well I was in TRH, the techs, the Southlanders, and everyone's texting me like trying to come up with a million questions, like ask me this, like you right?
But yeah. But I bet the States Elite though, I think they should tone down the speed of their spears.
I don't think that changes intent, because I just started with Legacy Rome.
I mean, whose idea was that in the first place?
I don't think it's an idea. I don't think anything changed. I think it's an underlying code change that caused that to happen. I don't think someone's like, oh, boost the speed, which is why you see bugs happen. They're not intended, you know. When bugs happen,
I'm not. I thought it was something to do with the way that the speed bonus from emergency power to engines was being applied to the NPCs.
Right.
Because the Vulture has been showing something not quite as bad, but when they put emergency power to engines, they're doing something similar.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Well, they may not be using emergency to power engines 3, which I think is what the board's
That's why I think it's less of an issue with the Vultures.
But
it's not. It's one of those things the team is investigating, but we have to prioritize things. How long playing, what you would change and what you would add.
I joined a month before you went free to play.
Okay.
I paid, obviously I didn't say I was new to the game. I bought a lifetime account, and then about 2 weeks later I went free to play, and I was like, really? I'm happy.
The lifetime's still worth it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I've been playing since just before free to play. What I've changed in the game is...
You got it.
That's okay, I get a better camera angle.
In the PvP wise, I try and have a bit more of a variety of the queues that you can go into. For example, you could have like, at the moment you can use anything to go into a PvP match, but then I'd maybe set up rooms where you can't use consoles, for example, like certain consoles, you know, that you have to buy to get, you know, what people call pay-to-win consoles, you know, just a bit more variety in the type of queues that you can have. I know that's hard, but, you know, because you've got to really try and think about what consoles will be accepted and what isn't. But, you know, maybe try something like that.
Like you'd set up a private queue and you'd check mark or uncheck mark what you don't want to go in?
Yeah, that kind of thing, but each sort of queue will have, like, this queue room will allow everything, and then that queue room will only allow sort of the basic console stuff, not like a million AMSs, you know, that kind of stuff, so it just wrecks the game. And also have a, if you can get some sort of program that stops people beaming in just to farm the STX and PvP matches, because regularly we get in, we beam in, and then there'll be like 2 ships sitting off that are away from keyboard, you know what I mean? Because I know obviously you can't stop the macros doing that, but maybe if you don't do anything within so many minutes, the automatically get kicked off the match, so they don't get the reward, something like that. Because
so what it sounds like to me is the 2 underlying concerns is one that players are AFK. Yeah, the second one is the balance of consoles.
Yeah.
Rather than, you know, it's just like the low buy store. The main underlying reason is you want to be able to give items to your other alts if you have on there, on one character unit logo.
I like everything, but on a whole, I think if you have rooms that will allow specific things in, and people can have a choice of what type of match. Because I hate, like, for example, I hate going into a match, and I've got a 5-man team all using AMS, all using scrap and sensors, and I'm just like, I really want to queue up to like 10 lots of sensors.
If you're going to make a private match, you're going to be pretty much for those type of matches. You'd be inviting people you like summon for a tournament, let's say, right? So rather than spending the dev time making those new PvP matches, I think you guys would rather see new game types.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're going to be inviting those people to private matches, you tell them don't bring this and this and this. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
So, because you wouldn't go into that queue hoping to get a pug to get in there and battle against, right?
Yeah.
They're more going to go in, someone looking for a pickup group is going to go into the regular.
For example, of a channel where it's just only only pre-mates can go into, because there's a lot of pre-mates go in, and there's a lot of debate that goes, arguing that goes on. Because, for example, like, because I was in a PvP fleet, if we queued up, if we teamed up together and then went into a queue, you would demolish a pub team 15-0 within seconds, because we're organised, we're on TeamSpeak, we're all PvPs, we're working together. So maybe like having a channel where, for example, on the public queues, stop pre-mates going into them, so everyone has to queue up individuals, so when they go in, they end up on different teams, rather than, like, for example, like one of the big PvP fleets, demolishing everyone all the time, because I've noticed that stops a lot of people doing PvP, because they go in, they get wiped out 15-0 every time, because there's a pre-mate that's gone into the queue, and they're like, I'm not doing PvP anymore, I get levered. So maybe stop pre-mates going into them, and then have a separate, or even just make one separate channel where pre-mates can queue for that one. So you have to be 2 pre-mate teams, so pre-mate teams can then have a good battle, and then you're not losing the PvP community, because these are queuing in pugs, and pugs are just getting demolished 15-0, and then that's why they're like, I'm not doing it no more, I'm not interested.
Or maybe if it was the same queue, and it would put a pre-mate with another pre-mate. So you, like, well, for instance, right now, if you sit in a queue with 4 people in one team, and then, let's say an ST, let's just say ST, because there's only one side. If you're 4 people in a team, and then another team of 2 pre-mates queue up, you're never going to get the queue to pop, because there's not 5.
Yeah.
So something like that maybe could work similar for PvP, where if you're in a pre-mate together, you'll wait until another pre-mate. So it waits that.
But then again, at the same time, I would say a separate channel would be better, because say you want to do PvP and you queue up as a team. Now, you might never ever get a pop for hours on end, because no one queues up as a team, so then you're losing out. As where if you've got a separate channel, you can just queue for that channel, and then if you don't get a pop in like 5-10 minutes, you know, I'll bid it, let's break off and we'll just queue up for that one individual, because then because if you don't get the programming right for that, you could end up where you have random teams going in, you know what I mean? Because I think it's just make one separate channel. Pre-made teams queue up for that one only. Pre-made teams cannot queue up in the queues, they have to go in individual, and that way it gives everyone more variety. And pub teams, the smaller PvP players who aren't really that good, will get a better variety, because they'll actually win some matches, because the better players like myself, who you know, are pretty good, you know, we won't go in and demolish a pub team, so just stop the pub team, stop the pre-mates going into that public use, just make a separate channel for pre-mates only, because then that's
definitely an idea I can take back.
You're losing so many people. I mean, I don't know how big your fleet PvP is, I've never heard of them, so, but I mean, I'm pretty sure you might get more interest if you're actually winning matches, rather than going in.
I think that's
you lose so many people, because
It's a very big skill jump to be able to defeat.
Because you've got PvPs like me, who's got a Gemidar bullshit. I'm pretty good, I've got all the top gear stuff, I've got everything. 5 people going in against 5 players who just want to do it casually for a bit of fun, and they just get demolished, and then they'll stop and play, because they're like, I don't want to lose every 15-0 constantly. So I think that'll help PvP a lot if you can do that. I'd say that's probably the biggest one I can say. Stop pre-mates going in the few matches, in the pub matches.
I mean, that's definitely something I can take back. And that's what I've been doing at these meetups, is taking back a lot of feedback and writing reports.
That's the biggest one, because you see it in the organised PvP channel all the time. People are always complaining, pre-mates. Because the other thing what we tend to do is, like, when I was in the text fleet, like, we would search for other fleets, and when we see that some of them are going into the pre-made the pub made matches, what we'll try and do on the slide, right, everyone hide themselves, so we'll all hide ourselves, and say a minimum of 4, don't go for 5 and 5, say 4, because then if people want to go in as a 4, let them go in as a 4. I'd say that would be good to try that.
I'll definitely pass that idea along. I think that'd be cool.
It will boost the younger players who aren't that good.
Sure.
Well, it'll boost them up so much, because they'll want to go in, because they're like, actually, I'm not getting demolished. These 3 guys are winning us the team here. You know what I mean? So they've got more of a chance, and they'll get kills and they'll win people.
Okay. That's definitely an idea I can pass along.
What I try and add is try and get some sort of scoring board for PvP.
Have you been in Neverwinter?
No, I know it's great. I know a few people said the storyline they like it, but
there's some really good new PvP tech in Neverwinter that we're looking at, seeing what we could bring over to STO, and they have some leaderboards or scoreboards too. So
I think that
PvP is really quite cool.
Yeah.
The way they do it.
I mean, not necessarily a ranking system really as much, because some people might be able to PvP a lot more than others, but I mean, like a scoreboard, such and such has played so many matches, he's lost so many, he's won so many, he's beaten out so many, you know what I mean? So when so you can relatively see who you're comparing yourself against to your level. So, maybe just a scoreboard of how many matches you've played and won and lost. Not.
So it's more like your profile. Just is keeping your stats and making them sort of public.
It's not a league, because, like I say, some people might not be able to play as many matches as others, but it's just, or maybe just based on 1 to whatever on how, for example, the top, he's played 1,000 matches, the bottom, he's played 3 matches, so it's ranked that way, but it's not an actual rank, because you can just look, alright, he's played this many, or whoever's won the most, you know what I mean, at the top. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just something like that, because I think a lot of people want that PvP, because it gives that competitiveness. I think,
sure.
Hey, I'm going to get above him in that table.
When we look at PvP and what we want to do, it's important to look at that as like how to make it more.
It's more accessible, but also more fun.
More accessible, more fun, and more.
That's one of the lads just. One of the lads has just texted me that from one of the other PvP fleets. He wants to know the
Snaz.
Yeah, from Sap Panthers. He just wants to know on it. That's just all that.
But yeah, regards to that, like I said, I'll make a post, but it's basically just going to tell people that using things that are against the TOS is not allowed.
Yeah.
And that.
No, sorry, not that one. I meant the one. What are your plans for PvP? That one. What are the plans for PvP, and what sort of time frame? What point do you reckon they're going to?
Since the next season is looking at endgame, we're looking to see where PvP may fall into that. I don't know exactly if it does, or if it's already scheduled, or how that's looking. But I know it's being considered as where do we look at PvP for endgame, because PvP in most games is an endgame feature. So that's kind of, and D still said that on one of his recent interviews. So I am a big. When we get to me, you'll hear the thing I want to change. So.
I'm Cerberus Films Oliver, and I've been playing since demo reports to be fixed for a lot of the little nitpicky bugs, because I know it's not a very big thing. It's not a very big piece. It's only used by a fraction of a percentage of a very small percentage of the community. We all know that, but there's lots of sort of little bugs that affect our day-to-day operations with it.
Demo record.
Demo record, just
Changing,
fixing up the bugs, basically, or giving us the cutscene tool, in which case that'd be nice. The thing I would add in the Foundry thing, and it's similar to what Neverwinter have in their having certain items checked off on Interact. It's the checking off items on Interact. Basically, you can pick up, say you have to open a chest, but you can't open it until you basically picked up a key, for instance. Basically, say you have to pick up you're trying to open a box, but that's your objective. But you have another, but you need to work out how to open that box. You go along and you interact with an object. You're given an item that is essentially a key. You can make it whatever you like. And it's not something you can...
So go pick up the letter and deliver it.
Basically,
Could be something
you go
like
and
that.
pick up the letter, it appears in your inventory. You then go to wherever it is. It checks if you have, if you've got that item on you, and then
complete that objective.
Yes,
That would be really cool.
But that way we can bring in
Go
things
pick
like,
up the pad and deliver it to the Admiral.
but even more than that, we can then use that to give truly branching objectives and branching storylines. That way, say you pick, because it goes across maps. The issue we have at the moment is that if you want to have a branching storyline and you go, and it's from a choice you make on the first map, you have to dream up some really intricate code without letting the player know that that's what they're doing. They're entering this thing on every single map.
Which is why it's usually on the last map.
Yes, exactly. Unless you're me and you want to be like you just want to be crazy and spend 2 years designing a mission. But that way you have that item. The first dialogue in that map checks whether you have that item or what item you have. That way, it's just set you up for the entire thing, and the player knows nothing. That's what. That if there was one thing that we were to get this year, that would literally change the Foundry entirely, and give us years more without doing too much work.
That's really cool. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, it's just a tiny. It is probably quite a big feature on the back end, but it's a small feature.
Making your missions.
Yeah.
I've never even taken the Foundry on yet. I don't know what it does.
Come by Starbucks UGC, we have plenty of tutorials.
I literally logged on, got to 50, found PvP. That's all I've done. Yeah. I never even finished the storyline. Not one of the storylines I've finished yet.
That sounds like a really cool feature. That'd be awesome.
I will say I completely second the sort of continuing storyline in some way thing, as in a progression through days. I know it's a very tough thing to look at, but or to figure out how it can be consistent, etc. But it's something that at least those who are only in it for the story anyway, that's something they really look for. And if I can add in one final little thing, the idea of something that Sal talked about a fair amount is the tying Foundry missions in better to, say, like an entire sector devoted to Foundry, that sort of stuff. That's just stuff that's like, yeah, we look forward to that.
That'd be awesome.
And even if it's just like a proper way to level 0 to 50 using Foundry.
Okay.
A nice consistent way of doing that. It's possible at the moment, but it's a little bit...
Sure.
Yeah. So,
that's one thing that'd be a crazy thing if Foundry community got together and made a story arc.
I'll speak to you later.
Okay, I thought that might be something that is a secret project that's being worked on, like a whole story arc that takes you from start to finish.
That's something that is planned for if what we're doing currently goes well.
Okay. Sorry.
I need to send you an email about that.
Okay.
Alright,
you don't play, so you can't talk.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I can.
What would you like in the Star Trek thing?
So, how long have you been playing?
what you would change and what you would add.
I'm Mark, former Priority 1 host with Brandon. I'm Mark, former Priority 1 host with Brandon back in the day. Playing since day of launch. What I would change is, like I said, PvP. Would do something. Don't know what I would personally pick yet, but and for me to add, and we've talked about this, is revamp of exploration. That's nice and simple for me. And next.
I'm Barry. I've been playing since it went free to play. Basically, because I don't want to pay a monthly membership or something.
That's my life.
Simple principle.
Free to play?
Yeah. Okay. One thing I'd like to change is the rep system and have it some way to be account-wide, even if it's just something as simple as a project that you run for, say, 500 marks, and it just unlocks the progress in the other things, so you'd make some contribution, but you can get access to what you've already ground out.
You mean like the biggest, like, you need to get a lot more points and a lot more donations, a lot more marks. I mean, make a requirement to be get for every character.
Yeah, because at the moment you've got every character has to do everything,
Right.
Yeah.
which is a lot of work.
Completed it on a if you completed it on a certain number of characters, then it unlocks on the rest. So
Or it gives you a project that you run.
I think something that would be good, yeah, because it's such a grind.
Because otherwise you're running 15, 20-minute things. And even if you cycle through every character, it's still a lot of work.
So, what you're saying is you'd like to see reputation account-wide.
Or some way of at least acknowledging on the other characters that you've done. You've spent hours already doing it.
So what we look at when looking at the reputation being account-wide is the base feedback behind it being that reason is because of how much time it takes to do it on all your other characters. I think that's the base concern, correct?
Yeah.
So while we probably will never see account-bound reputation, what we're looking at is the base thing behind what players are saying, where it is a lot of work to do the reputation on all of your alts. Each of your alts is going to need to do it to get it. However, looking at the core problem that players feel is that it takes too long. So, similar to the kind of tech that is now in for dilithium mine, where you can earn a discount, is it possible that we look at that to say, okay, you've unlocked tier 5 on this, so here now you have a discount on your other characters. You've unlocked it on another one. You have an even bigger discount. How does that work? So that's where I think you're going to see if there are any changes. I don't think you're going to see account-wide, but looking at the core problem and finding out how we can solve that without making it account-wide. And it comes down to making it less of a grind to do.
Yeah, so reducing the number of marks you need.
That's probably what you would see, and that's feedback that's currently being evaluated. Because we recognize that it's definitely a lot of work to get there, especially if you have multiple characters.
Last mission I did.
Some players are like, you know what, I'm just going to do it on my one and I don't really care about my other. But we want you to be able to feel that you can do it on your others. So how do we look at that core problem and solve it? That's something I think is the biggest request is to have account-bound reputation with regards to reputation. Well, why is that request being made? It's because it's so hard to do it on your others. So how can we do that without changing the core foundation of what the reputation is, because you can for characters? How do we make changes to affect other characters? It's not as hard. Right. So I think that's what you're going to see more happen, like potentially being account.
I'm sure you know.
And then something you would add.
We actually
I really quite like the Romulan Temporal Science Vessel.
No, we're playing
Romulan Temporal Science Vessel?
Yeah.
It's coming.
a couple of people
It will be coming. We don't have a set date yet, but it will be something that we will do. Of course, again, like anything, it could change, but it's currently set that we will do a temporal Romulan vessel.
so many times. But the reward gets to
When we'll see it, I don't know, but it's on the more short-term top frame. But again, things change at the last minute. We wanted the dilithium mine day 1 of Legacy Romulus, we need more time. We wanted the kit revamp day 1 of Legacy Romulus, we needed more time. So,
It's all average pretty hard.
but yeah, it's coming, according to what I've seen. All right, next up. Oh, the thing you wanted to add was a Romulan temporal vessel, and it is something we're working on. So it's on the more short-term plan, but of course, like anything, it could change. But the plan is to introduce a Romulan temporal vessel. So, how long?
So I've been playing since closed beta. Barry totally stole what I was going to say about feature change. So I have a clue what to say there. Something I would like to see added though, it's a very small thing, is just some way of keeping track of fighters. And if you're in separation mode, is keeping track of your other parts of your ship. Because when you're in a big combat situation where there are 20 or so ships around you, you can't see where your shuttles are or where the other saucer sections are, and half the time they get destroyed before you even know they've gone.
If you could have like a list down the side.
Yeah, like your away team thing, just sort of go there and go, there they are.
I discovered the other day the wonders of the naming, of like bringing up the names. And I knew there must be a way, but I found that.
It's almost ready,
but not
it's almost ready for testing on Turbo.
Really?
Yeah. So I'll say this: it's for carriers only. The reason why is you don't control your pets for saucer set. You don't control their actions and things like that. If you recall or whatnot, that's not how those work. That's not how they're balanced. But the carriers, there will be a carrier UI where you actually can see your pets and things like that. It's in development now. I think it's almost ready for testing. You heard podcast BBC interview? I think that's the goal. I don't know if it's going to make it. So Scimitar is due out, it could be as early as Tuesday next week. So in a couple days. It could be as early as Tuesday that we see it out. But the goal is to bring in new UI for carriers specifically to be able to track your pets, see their health, and things like that. But I don't, it does not go over to saucer separation and those pets.
So that's only like one or two
Yes,
things.
almost like a veteran system where there's stars and you, the longer you keep them alive. I don't know the exact specific.
I need to read that.
Yeah. No, I didn't see this at all.
Going back to the whole carrier,
Yeah.
is this putting tech into place for possible fleet admiral things later on? When it goes into
Yeah, I mean that if Fleet Admiral had these, this is definitely not in design right now or anything. But if Fleet Admiral was where you could bring out your other ships and command them that way, I'm assuming that that would be the ground tech needed for it. So this work could be used, now that this work has been done, where else can we use it?
Yeah.
So,
just along that vein, just put it in RTS mode at some point. You know.
make a special gameplay. We talked about that on Priority 1, like a best idea, like I was saying, oh, when we get to Fleet Admiral, make it like Armada, like you build it in a special game thing.
Yeah.
But this is a step in the right direction.
Armada 2, best game ever.
Just like people really want re-species, well, the retrade needed to be done first before you could even consider that. So.
You have a chance to redesign that, because the whole desktop ship itself.
Redesign what? The Sovereign? Man, we go back and tweak things whatever we can. Like the Galaxy, I think has been tweaked like 17 times since launch. What's really different about it?
Well, one side, you got the texture and you got the color. So far, it's not how to do that. Same shape as an engine.
Okay.
Just look at that funky.
The art team loves tweaking things. The ship art team. But they have so many ships on the schedule. It is so hard to get in. Huh? Everything is on the list to go back and tweak. Like, and make more accurate.
On a good point though, I think the improvements on the graphics are also.
Yeah.
The what?
The improvements on the graphics are also.
Yeah.
On a good point though, I think they're really good.
I like that.
I still came across, I haven't seen a black texture for ages, but I came across one on New Romulus Command.
No, you just tweet Taco Fangs.
Yeah, I'll screenshot it and send it to Stan.
Yeah, have a like. So yeah, the scimitar is going to be really cool, especially with that UI. But you were talking about PvP. No. Someone brought up, you brought up PvP and how it affects it.
Yeah, I mean, granted, resistances might not be a big deal because every liner goes to neutronium anyway, and that's flat across the board. It's if the props start coming into play. So your drone ship's chucking out, you'll chuck out plasma, your drones are chucking out disruptors, phasers.
But I don't think it's like in every shot is different.
I know.
I think
That's really random number stuff. If it's tunable, if that can be relied on, it opens up some interesting ideas. You talk too much?
And again, they're on fighter pets, so we'll see. We'll see.
I know, I just break out tractor impulses and swat them, so...
There you go.
Yeah. Admittedly, that's also my solution for Folium webs as well.
I'd say that fighting change just makes me happy.
I haven't even seen the UI. I know Terrelyn saw it. Terrelyn was at Cryptic while I was gone. She got to see it, or hear about it. Yeah. Actually, we would really like to do like a PWE con one day, where, and not the con, like where obviously we have a lot of players playing all of our games, but
hire a boat and we'll go into the middle of the Atlantic. We'll find you there.
Oh, I never mentioned mine. Okay, so I've been playing since closed beta. I signed up for Champions Online for a 6-month subscription so I could get guaranteed access for closed beta. I got closed beta access 1 week before I left for Guam. I was there for 3 weeks. So I would get up at 2 a.m. in the morning their time to go to a local gas station. It was the only place that had internet. I would sit in their lobby and play STO closed beta, going my Miranda through the tutorial every single time because they wiped it. And closed beta for that was like 2 hours at a time. And then I was playing. A couple months in, I started I was invited onto a podcast called The Neutral Zone. Very old podcast. That fizzled out because the 2 other hosts I was with, they stopped playing. And I knew Mark from in-game, and he's like, hey, you want to do a podcast? I said, sure, I just finished one. I kind of know about it. He's like, I really want to call it Priority One. I'm like, okay. So we founded Priority One in like August 2010, ran it until middle 2011, did auditions, and James and Elijah took over. They actually just released their audition tapes. I didn't give it to them, so I don't know where they got it. So Mark and I started Priority One. I stopped it because I was writing for Massively. I was doing a bunch of stuff with work. I couldn't really keep up with anymore to do it each week. So that's when the new host came in. And then I came on board with the STO team in November of 2011. So, but I've been working with them from the podcast and stuff. The thing I would change is PvP. I think there's a lot of potential because I think we could even have esports in STO with PvP because our space combat is very unique. I play League of Legends too, so I would love to see like League-style PvP where you have lanes and you have turrets that are firing at you, and you got to destroy the starbase on the other side. You can't go above or below. Like if you go, you get destroyed if you go into a nebula for too long or something like that.
I mean, I know quite a few players, people that come from more games, so just the space combat.
It's so unique, and I think it has the potential to be huge. And
there's been talk of also doing of using demo records to do esports, like
right
to enhance these whole post back.
Exactly.
It'd be an incredible thing. We've almost got to the point where we almost had it.
So, and then the one thing I would add is exploration. I think exploration is a big part of Star Trek, and I think we need to really work on that. I think it could be incredible. I think there's some really interesting ideas that could involve the duty officer system, possibly the gateway. We're going to be really putting a big investment into the gateway going forward so that you could start to see some really awesome features through it. Because I think being able to stay connected to the game helps when you're outside of the game, helps with players continuing being interested.
Neverwinter did that.
Works really well.
With gateway,
so you can list stuff on their options.
Yeah, you want professions and stuff as well. Yeah.
There's a lot of potential for gateway, and we're definitely ramping up for what we'd like to do for STO for it. So expect details to be shared on that. A couple other things. We're working on the next season, so that's due out before the end of the year. Focuses on endgame, so things like events, STFs. There'll be a new critter group, who I'm really excited for you guys to see. A new enemy group. The next season after that, season 9, could be another expansion. It may just be another season. It's still up in the air.
We have Talaxians just to kill them.
Talaxians?
Just to kill them.
I think there's a lot of potential to find out what backstories there are if we go to the Delta Quadrant. Like what happened to the Okampa after the caretaker died because of the 5 years they left him with flu? What happened to the Talaxians? What happened? Borg space is there. What
happened to the Klingons who traveled to the Delta Quadrant?
Exactly. There's so much story and fun.
Like
Zindi? There's tons we can do with the Zindi too.
You know what I mean? How where they expand in the Delta Quadrant and come back to the Alpha as a force to try and reunite all Klingons.
On the subject of the Zindi, I realise we've currently got the Iconians as the man behind the man, to use the trope term.
Yeah.
But
the man behind the curtain?
Yeah, but the Sphere Builders are still out there.
The Icy Sphere Builders?
No, the Sphere Builders from
yes.
who are still around there, presumably still peeved, and we're kind of getting into the time period where they made their appearance in the canon. What Daniels said in the series.
Which one?
Trying to discover because there's 10 ounce steak and a 5 ounce.
Okay. I think there's so much we could do with the Delta Quadrant. So you will see the Delta Quadrant one day, it's just when. So,
at least I know STO is not going to be closed down anytime soon. I'm happy.
It's doing better than it's ever done before.
Is it? Really?
Oh yeah.
I've had a question. When's the next bug ships coming out?
When's what?
Bug ships coming out.
Because
I'm trying to save
Borg or Bug?
Bug Gemini's bug ships.
Oh.
By the sound of it,
We'd probably run another promotion like we've done with the duty officer packs. I don't know when though.
Oh yeah, because I'm trying to save VCs. I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm debating whether to spend it or whether to just try and save it by a cheap bug.
well,
We never announce promotions or sales beforehand, but you can expect that those do really well, so you'd probably see it again in the future.
and look at it this way, from what he was saying about the Scimitar stats, I mean, that thing is basically a cruiser carrier on steroids.
The problem with it though is the turn rates. They wouldn't do well in PvP.
Evasive maneuvers, an RCS console, even one of those Uber RCS ones from the dilithium mine,
I mean,
and you'll be having some fun with it
PvP
anyway.
is pretty much set down to the ships are either a Jemadar, Recluse, Science Wells, or an Odyssey. If you haven't got one of them PvPs, you ain't going to be able to compete at top
Okay, well,
level
hang on a
PvP.
sec. What's the base turn on the Recluse?
Yeah, but that's why it's just a healer though.
Yeah, so you take science.
Yeah, but there's more capability for the Recluse healer as well. You'll be able to protect healer just by the layouts and
That's
everything
what
else.
my Recluse is a healer, and like when Crystalline any event, like that was, you know how it judged healing. I always came in first in that ship.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, so see, that's what I mean. PvP is quite limited to because the set teams have the set ships and the set ways to do things because it works best that way. That's why I do it. So.
And I think you're going to find that in any complex scenario, there's always going to be an optimum that emerges. The Scimitar might shake that up. I mean, we don't know.
But I'd say like
We have a testing group that's been testing it.
Yeah,
and
so I heard.
well, that's where all these leaks have come from.
Yeah, but that's why we were saying there, like, the biggest thing PvP is stop pre-mate. I mean, I'm always in pre-mate team, so I'm kind of kicking myself. But stop pre-mate going into public queues because it demoralises everyone. And people complain and people like doing PvP no more.
Especially like Kara.
I mean, my old fleet, I managed to get a team together, and, you know what I mean? And then whenever we queued up, we got demolished, and in the end they were like, you know what I mean? Because they weren't a pre-made team or anything, they just got together casual. And they wouldn't even play casual anymore, because they were like, I'm not queuing up just to get demolished all the time.
And that's exactly why that's why I really was excited about boot camp, because hopefully people would network more and get those skills needed and not feel like I'm just going to get trampled every time I go in PvP. But I know what you're saying, and I think it's a valid idea, and I think it's something that's on the easier side of things to do.
I mean, just one extra queue, where you got confused, just have one queue at the bottom for pre-made teams.
But if you're a pre-made looking for another pre-made, would you say that those pre-mades are probably in organized PvP chat?
But a lot of the fleets won't queue up with each other because people accuse other fleets of hacking.
But if you're in a then you would want to set a private queue, not a public, because you're going to get with them if you go into it, right?
yes and no, because sometimes, you know, no, because, sorry, I'm not wording it right as well. Another way of giving it the option, if you want to go into a pre-made match, for example, obviously you've got queues there, and the bottom one, I'm saying pre-made, only pre-mades can queue up. Give them the option where if you're a single bloke, you can then queue up into it. So then at least you know you're queuing up possibly against the pre-made. So it gives you the chance, the option to, do I want to go against a pre-made, or do I just?
So really, it's the same. So really, it's the same kind of queue, and it just says pre-made.
Except if you're on a 5-man team, you're only going into the pre-made team because you know if you're in a 5-man team, you can only queue up for that one.
We're still figuring it out.
Could that be done? Sorry,
Because then if they go into the queues, they have to break off and go single, which then means that they can go on each random side. It's random wherever you end up. Does that make sense?
You might be able to do that in the matchmaking code.
So that's the thing. Like have some kind of lobby, like a lobby. How about some kind of lobby system where you said, "Here's our team. We're from this fleet. Challenge us. Press this button," and you come in with a 5-made, pre-made, and they have like a lobby.
Yeah,
similar, right?
Then you also want it anonymous at the same time because some people just avoid.
All it is,
well, if you wanted to.
All it is on the PvP queues that you've got now, just block out pre-made teams, so then pre-made teams can't queue anymore. Make a new channel, which is for pre-made teams, and then that way, but if you're individuals, you can queue up to it, but at least you know you've got the option of fighting against a pre-made team or a pub team. Yeah. Because I think that's it. Just stop. So that way you can have the option if I want to queue against a pub team or if I want to queue against a pre-made team. So pre-made teams can't not go into that one, only this one. Because if they go into that one, say we did get right, all 5 of us break off, we'll still queue into that one.
Is there a forum thread on this idea?
So yeah?
Is there a forum thread in the PvP?
No, this is just something that I thought of.
Would you be willing to make one so that I can actually pass it along to the systems team?
A forum for it? Yeah.
Not a forum, but a thread. Like an exact plan of what you see it doing and how it could be implemented and why it would help. I mean, I can convey this, but there's nothing better than passing along a thread that has it clearly written down.
Yeah, I'll do that because, like I said, all this it's just the channels you've got now keep the same, except block pre-made teams. So if the 5-man team cannot queue up into it. But at the same time, if they all go, right, let's break off and all queue up. If they queue up all at the same time, because it's random, it's not guaranteed they'll be on the same team anyway. So it gives the pubs teams a fair match. And the extra new channel, well, pre-mades can queue into it. And then if they're a 5-man team, they go, right, yeah, we're 5 teams, let's queue up into that one. And then that way, it's another team that has got maybe want to queue up into pubs, rather than go up and demolish pubs. Bingo, is anyone queued up in that channel there? Oh yeah, there's 5 people in that pre-made. Let's go against them. You know what I mean?
If you can make a forum thread on this and pass it along, I'll commit to passing along in my feedback reports and put an emphasis on it. If you think it's going to make that big of an impact on PvP community.
Yeah, because like I say, no, it demolishes. I mean, he's said that as well. He doesn't make PvP much anymore, so he doesn't want to go in a pub match and get demolished by a pre-made team. Nobody does, at least if it's more varied. Like, you know what I mean? Because, like, say, 5 like my mates are all good PvPs, we all queue up. 2 of them could be on one side and 3 on the other, so they're against each other. So you haven't got a really good team, all pubs, you know what I mean? Because they're broken apart. That's what I'm saying, the separate tab could be pre-made for pre-mates. Okay. Or individuals can still queue up to it. But at least then you know, only people who are willing to go up against the pre-made can do. Does that make sense?
Did you already put in?
Not yet, but yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Yeah, please do.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I'll say, mate, I need to
Okay, someone who knows coins needs to help me with the coins.
No, it's your education.
Is this because you don't have big numbers on them?
Yeah. Right. And should we make him do it in
Is this 2? 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, here's 5. This is 50, right?
Yep. 250 is 6.
So 1. What are these?
10.
10 piece.
10. Do you guys not have 25 piece?
No, we don't have quarters. We have 20s, we have 5s.
Fifth, so that's like
things up and simplify by going from like a.
What is this?
time
20.
coins into 250 piece for a
Yeah, those are
fiver.
20.
Why is the 20 smaller than the 10?
Because I'd like
Because it is.
Because it's cool.
And
It
because
doesn't want to make it 20p smaller than the 10.
Replacement for the shilling.
So, okay, this is 50 cents.
Generally, the bigger.
2p's the biggest of them all.
Is this 2p?
Yeah.
So this is 5.
5p.
no, oh well, yeah, in total, yeah, it is.
So, all right.
And I'll squeeze in between you two there. That's fine. Why didn't that go? Why didn't that go?
There you go. Oh shoot. Alright, let's check the first one, make sure it's good.
Yep.
Next time you do a camera with a full auto setting, warn us.
Not yours.